Good evening, coming to you from around the campfire. It's Epic Tales, featuring Epic Tales, a campfire discussion about all things bookish. Joining me today is my buddy Epic Tales. Let's talk about all things bookish. We haven't even planned this. We don't even know how this is going to go. But hey, Epic's here, and things could get crazy when Epic's here. Joining my family here on our camping trip this year.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm just very grateful to, meet the family. It's been, I think, 2 years since the last time I saw them.
Probably, yeah, something like that.
And I miss them. And, when Drew offered to, host me at this camp setting and everything, I had to say yes, because it's just the time to relax, talk about stories and, meet his family who have been so wonderful to me. And I'm so grateful to be here, to be honest, and I'm excited about what this video is going to be.
I've read difficult books. I can also say, though, I think, depending on how you define difficult, of course, Malazan was difficult.
Yeah.
It was a hard one to get through. But I think, personally for me, probably the most difficult book to read was Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese.
I don't even know those books.
So this is a book about, it was written by a residential school survivor here in Canada. And the story is about a character's name's Indian Horse. And it's, while a fictional character, his experiences as a native kid in the residential school system, where his story was inspired by the experiences of Richard Wagamese and members of his family. And that was an incredibly difficult book to get me through, for me to get through. It's so rare that I can only think of two stories that I've read that have actually made me cry. And that was one of them. The other one was Kaladin's, because I could relate to his depression so hardcore. But the story of Indian Horse, I was in tears within the first few pages. It was an emotionally difficult book to read, and I already had a lot of empathy for what the First Nations community in this country went through, but to read, albeit in a fictionalized story, reading these experiences, knowing that they're based on true events and true experiences, was heartbreaking.
So it's anytime I read anything about residential homes, I get very, very uncomfortable because I'm living here in Canada and I know a lot of people from the First Nation communities personally. I had a job where I had to constantly speak with chiefs and speak with people to try and help them become a part of this alcohol treatment program at the time. Yeah. And just from them speaking to me, and there was one of them that asked me where I'm from, and I was like, I'm African. And they were like, the difference. Basically, so I have a script where I'm supposed to read from to get these guys to become a part of our program and everything. And I'm trying to read off this script. And this guy, still can't pronounce his name, but he was the chief of reservation area territory, and he asked me where am I from, and I was like, I'm Nigerian. And he was like, oh, were you colonized as well? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, the difference between me and you was that they left your country, my country, they didn't leave. And he started telling me about this is what they did, this is what they did, this is what they did, this is what they did. And I'm there on the phone right here, and the CEO of the company is listening to me, because he picked up the phone, because he saw me, I was very long. Usually in a sales call, if you're too long on the phone, they want to see if you're just messing around, or if you're wasting time, or if the conversation is going so well that it warrants that amount of engagement. And he was just the CEO picked up the phone And I was looking at him to tell, because if he tells me to drop the phone, like I want to keep my job, I have to drop the phone. But the horrors this guy kept like telling me about, I was on the phone, I was tearing up, I was like, I was questioning my existence, I was questioning my job, I was just like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this anymore. But then I had to listen to him. You know, I still wasn't able to get him to be a part of the program because I couldn't argue, I couldn't like, because his premise was, I can't trust you, right? I can't trust you because the Canadian government is funding your program, and just like based on the history, and it's a very, very nuanced topic, but listening to his perspective and stuff that he told me happened to people he knew, and I was, so anytime I hear stuff that's based off residential homes, it's personal to me because I love Canada. I've been here for a while, and like it's like to even piece up the idea that is like this is a part of its history is heartbreaking, and you know, like
it really is.
It's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking.
It really is. And you know, despite the response that book got from me, I have to say that I am so happy that I read it.
Of course.
I've got a few more books on my shelf. I think 2 more by residential school survivors that I haven't gotten to yet. But I think it's well worth it. And I know a lot of people might hesitate to read a book like that, but I really want it, especially with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission here in Canada, and a lot of conversation around, you know, making amends for the whole residential schools, which was one of the darkest things that our country has ever done. And you know, I love living in Canada. I think it is one of the best places. There are so many worse places to live, but Canada, as nice as we make ourselves out to be to the rest of the world, Canada has its dark past. And I'm really happy to have read that book, and I hope to read more because I know that this is an important issue, an important subject, and it's finally starting to be actually taught properly in schools. When I was growing up, I didn't find out that the last residential school in Canada didn't close until I was in high school. I thought that was an issue of the past before I started school. I didn't realize that they had actually been open that long. And I didn't learn that until well after I finished school. And my first thought was, there's something wrong here. Like, how did I not really understand and know about this? I wasn't taught that history. And so as it's kind of come to the light, so to speak, I wanted to read more by authors who have written about their experiences. And it's not always an easy thing to do, but
have you read The Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart? By P.L.?
I have not, no.
So it's a book, and I was reading book 3 recently, and like earlier this year, and there was a particular plot line that was based off the residential homes. So the writer P.L. Stewart is from Toronto. He grew up here. He's black. You know, so he's writing from, and in his book there are a lot of like socio-economic issues that he's trying to address, and there was a plot line that was based off his knowledge of the residential homes. And like even in that book, like I didn't know for certain, but when I read about it and saw the stuff that was happening in the book, like I was on Bread and Books channel, and we're interviewing him, and I asked him straight up, like, yo, like was this inspired of like I asked him because I was like, this looks too familiar, and he was like, yes. And he explained to me that a few years ago, when some of the atrocities that were being committed in the residential homes became public, he was writing Drowned Kingdom at that time, and like whatever plans he had for the book just changed because he was like, he felt so like he was so pained by like the knowledge that he had to write something about it. he had like he the direction he was going on
Right.
just diverted, because he was like, I need to express myself in my story, this particular thing, and he did a good job at it. And he talked about like how negligence, in the sense of people getting information and being complacent about it, and he tried to address it in a very honest way. So but you'd have to get to book 3 to get to that part, so I don't know if you want to toil through that. But Drown Kingdom is a book that is really good as well. Like, as far as like indie books are concerned, it's a book I'll recommend. So yeah,
Good
but
to know,
in
yeah.
book 3 he really like touched on some of the plot lines were based off some of the things that happen in residential homes. So if that's something of interest to you, then I recommend that general story to you.
Oh, I'll have to put it on my list.
Yeah.
Which is already too long. I don't know if I'll ever be caught up. But, such is life as a book lover, right? All right, well,
Stay epic and peace.
absolutely.
Peace.
And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.